What's up, Rockstars? Today I have a big video for you guys. We have some big campaigns coming up, but also some big community things we need to discuss. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. Now, as always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members for their financial support. It is through them that videos just like this are possible. So if you appreciate the videos I make every single week for you guys, and they are truly for you guys, then there is a link down in the description below. Thank you so much. Even $1 a month helps out greatly. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and just dive right in because there's kind of a lot to discuss about. I have some personal stories to talk about. There's just a lot involved. So, first of all, The Breach, that is by Ludus Magnus Studio. That is coming out here soon. Now, it looks very cool. There are some things to keep in mind. They are doing the, like the clear printing of the plastic. You see that in special effects, like in the Street Fighter The Miniatures game is probably what most of you have. Little swooshes and stuff like that. They look very cool, but if you plan on painting them, just keep that in mind. If you want to keep it that way, and you'll have to cover it up when you prime it and then paint the rest of the mini. Otherwise, you can just prime it and paint it in, but then you lose all the benefit that would have gotten you anyway. So it's mainly for people who probably just want the gray plastic minis when it comes to that hobby of painting the miniatures. As for the game itself, it seems interesting. It seems like it's kind of like a PvP dungeon crawl, which is interesting to say the least, but I don't think it's like a one versus many, which is kind of normally how I think we see that. So gameplay wise, I don't know. And also they still need to deliver, you know, Nova Aetus Renaissance hopefully here soon. But anyway, yeah, that's coming up here as well. And yeah, 5,000 Kickstarter followers. They're at 4,162. There's a link down in the description below to this. If you are interested, go and click that follow button and add to that pool. Also, Batman Gotham City Chronicles Season 3 and RPG, a big old title because it's essentially two different things. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that, first of all, they have that full RPG system they're doing. This also adds Season 3 of Gotham City Chronicles. They are not focused on a lot of content bloat, if that makes sense. They're not worried about giving you a ton of minis. They've done that in Season 2 and in Season 1. So they're trying to get a good bang for your buck when it comes to adding value to what they've already offered. So for instance, they're adding a mode that adds solo and co-op to all of the previous scenarios, the entire game, all of Season 1, all of Season 2, all of Season 3 will be able to follow this new game rule set. So it's a little bit different than the Conan one, which was specific scenarios. This one is like for everything. So that's kind of interesting to see. That'll add a lot of value, of course. And I'd love to know why they delayed it for the movie The Batman. Definitely interested in that as well. And of course, there's that RPG. Link in the description below to that as well. Next up, we also have Middara. That is going to be opening up its pledge manager soon, and there are new things that are going to be available. So they're not doing shipping yet for 1 and 2, but they do have the 1.2 updates. And in fact, they're going to have a new set of resin kits. They'll be having a plastic release of their previous resin kits, which is super huge. That's very big for a lot of people who didn't want the resin but still wanted the gameplay. That's just based off popular demand. I don't think it was originally planned. Whether or not these new resin kits are going to get a plastic one, I don't know. Hopefully they'll comment on that so people don't feel like they need to get it if they don't like the build the resin minis, which is understandable, or the price point of them. It depends on what the resin kits are too, of course. If it's new stuff, that's kind of the thing I think people are interested in, is wanting all the game content, maybe not wanting the hobby version of the resin stuff. They'll have official cloth tuck bags for a variety of characters for Act 1, 2, and 3, and new card mats featuring characters from Act 1, 2, and 3. So that's very cool to see. Definitely excited. When you're using those mats, you definitely want it to match, you know, the person you are, of course. So that's pretty cool. And that's really it on that. They're going to be opening that up here soon. And so again, there'll be a link when it's available anyway, because it's not now. All right, let's talk about this. community spotlight here. This is Legion Games. His video is linked down below. Feel free to watch it all. He does a very good job, kind of like journalistically like documenting a series of events that have been happening to him that he's noticed, that he's been questioning, stuff like that. It's kind of adorable. He's kind of where I was kind of a couple years ago perhaps, but doing way better at it than I think I ever did. He did a great job kind of showing everything and what's going on. So definitely a great video, and feel free to subscribe to him while you're down there. Show him some love. Any kind of content creator I try to show off, I hope you guys see what they have to offer. He offers a lot of stuff that I either used to cover or do cover, and he has a much different focus than me when it comes to like minis and stuff like that. So a nice flavor to add to your palate. Anyway, this video here is called Banned from a Large Facebook Board Game Group, A Tale of Paid Promotion, Influence, and Intimidation. Now, he's not naming names very much, but that's not typically my style, because I feel when you're reporting on something, especially if it's calling out somebody, I feel it's disingenuous perhaps to call out somebody like almost behind their back. Like everybody knows who you're talking about, so to say it, everybody's more comfortable, less comfortable doing that. And when you are reporting on something, you do have to keep in mind who it may affect, right? And when it comes to like innocence and stuff like that. So, and the greater good and whatnot, whatever. So, but that's not the case here. So I'm going to kind of be using names where he doesn't, but it's fine. And really, he filmed this in a series of things, and I think progressively got more and more overt as things happened. So what did happen? Well, first things first, and I'm not going to summarize the whole video. Again, link down below. Go ahead and give it a watch. If nothing else, while you're there, just like it real quick. And again, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. He's a great guy. So he noticed an ad essentially on the board game group. This is Board Game Revolution, where he says, "Is this an I'm interested post or a promotion?" He didn't know, because normally off of the Facebook groups that we have, there's typically hashtag ad, or there's a little notification that you have to click on, or you put it in the description that it's a paid advertisement or a sponsor post or something like that, or you put it in there. If you're on my channel, you also add a big disclaimer at the beginning of the video telling everybody, hey, this is everything you might want to know about my relationship with company X. But not everybody does that, and on the Facebook groups, it's pretty much you don't know. They don't put an ad there. They don't put a, hey, I'm affiliated, blah, 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 or hey, I get paid ads for this, or a commission, or whatever it might be. So he asked this question, which seems a very genuine question to ask, because of kind of how it reads, So he gets this message he blurted out here. It's Thomas Covert. He is the guy that created Board Game Revolution, the Facebook group, the biggest board game Facebook group. And he says, "What's with this comment seems rude." He then deleted and unsent 2 messages. That was probably for the betterment of this video and for him. He tends to come in hot and heavy on this kind of stuff. Hence why just asking a question like that gets a personal direct message to your account saying, hey, why like that? Like, he didn't respond publicly. He just shoots you an IM. And then he said, can she share a game she's excited for? Now he's saying that's kind of interesting. Now he says that's kind of interesting because earlier he shows how they were posting stuff that kind of just like this. So it's this kind of, or if he's not doing the posting, or somebody that's kind of on the payroll per se, then he'll ask you, hey, are what is this? Is this sponsored or what? Anyway, kind of interesting. That he would kind of go that. Anyway, eventually he gets banned after this, essentially. And he's like, I just asked a question and I got banned from it for I guess posting that rude comment. And I would post this on the Board Game Revolution, but like Board Game Geek, they have the rule to where you cannot discuss moderation without getting banned yourself. So nobody can actually comment on this. It's all hush hush, and we have to go outside the system to actually discuss things like this, which again ties directly into like how police often act and when they're doing stuff, and it's like, hey, that's shady, and then they don't want you to record and all that kind of, it's a bad form to stifle moderation discussion. You should be very open about that, in my opinion. Okay, but let's talk about the crux of the issue here. So I made a comment, and I'll go in and read it, and then I'll read Thomas's response, and then I'll talk broadly about the implications of that and what we can do about it. So I said, welcome to the banned, should be list, or banned from BG. So I said, welcome to the banned from BGR list. Don't worry, we have cookies. The Facebook space for board games is atrocious. We get groups either run by guys like Thomas, who banned for disagreeing with them, I'll explain that in a little bit, or ran by devs themselves. It's why I made the group that I did, so people could freely share things they find and discuss the things they want to discuss, but I don't really invest in it, sadly. As a side note, in my description in every single one of my videos is a link to my board game group. Now, I say my board game group because I created it, but eventually I want to essentially have it run itself and be its own thing. And that's because I want people to be able to share things they create. I want to be community focused, not dev focused, like all of the other ones are. And by that, I mean, if you find a very cool YouTube video, or you made a very cool YouTube video, I want you to be able to share it there. If you made a great top 10 list, or if you made a post on this site or in this group or whatever it might be, I want you to share it with everybody else so that everybody gets to do it. And if there are industry issues that we want to discuss, I want that to be a safe place for people to discuss issues, whether that's with me, whether that's with somebody else, whether that's with a group, whatever it might be. I want a place where we can actually have conversations. So Facebook is not the ideal place for that, but it is a place for that. So I kind of have that. Anyway, it's just a bummer that in an industry as this big, we don't really have a place where we can comfortably speak with one another. BGG, BGR, etc. They are all failing in this regard as communication tools to discuss the industry at large. I'm glad to see you seem to be doing well. It can feel a little Twilight Zone when this happens, but life does move on, and surprisingly, just fine without BGR in your life. Great video, by the way. The documentation and such is stellar. He did a great job. Okay, now you'll notice that there are some replies to Board Game Revolution, but there is no post. Well, that's because he deleted his post afterwards. All I have is this. I forgot that when you're dealing with Thomas, you have to screenshot everything, or he'll just, as you saw, unsend things. He'll say stuff and then take it away. So all we have here is this, saying, FYI, I do not only control moderation in the group. It's a team effort, especially this past year. I don't know why you spoons have been banned. I don't know what he meant by that. Maybe guys, I can't ever recall seeing you post or ever. He goes on to say essentially that he doesn't remember ever interacting with me or with League or League of Games. Like he didn't even remember any of that. So that's why the first person responded with, there's photographic evidence of you talking to one of these spoons and referring to the fact that you recognize who they are from their YouTube channel in this video on said channel, which you are commenting on, claiming you've never spoken to them. And then another person asks spoon, and then I respond with, I could also dig up my conversation with Thomas as well, from him asking advice about filming videos before he started that up for BGR, to conversations around my posting, my banning, my reinstatement, and various discussions, like when he didn't like that I thought Claustrophobic 1643 I liked Claustrophobic 1643 over the company paying for ad space at the time on BGR for Street Masters. Anyway, this is gaslighting, hand-waving, and finger-pointing does nothing to solve the issue. I'd bring this all up in BGR and have the community discuss it, but like BGG, asking about moderation publicly is against the rules and could get you banned on BGR. So then he deleted his comment. Now I'm going to go to his full comment here very shortly and then touch on a point that I think is vitally, vitally important here. Suffice it to say here, though, just like with Come On, right, and their shipping thing, when they react to it and they don't say, I'm sorry, or I apologize, or we messed up, or we goofed up, right? They say, we'll do better, we'll say all that, but they won't actually take ownership of what happened and acknowledge what happened. He sees a video like this and he makes a comment saying, hey, I'm not the only one in control here. It's a group effort, right? Just he's not saying, I'm sorry this happened to you, this was incorrect, or explaining it or anything like that, or saying, he's essentially saying, I don't know you, right? Which is gaslighting, just saying like, hey, I don't know what the issue is because we've never met, even though like he's talked to both of us and we've both been banned for disagreeing with him or having any kind of altercation with him. And of course, then also just saying, hey, it's a group effort. It's not just me. It's everybody. It's just a thing. Like all of that is just poor form, right? And obviously not grounded in reality at all, which is why he deleted it, which is why the very first comment's like, he has pictures of you guys talking. So there's that as well. Okay, let's go to the Board Game Revolution. This is a little bit long. However, I'm going to read it anyway, and then I'm going to comment on it because the end is the most important part here, but I feel the whole context matters. So, and I don't want to just post a thing and have you pause the video and do it. Like you can chill, you can keep washing the dishes or whatever you're doing while you're watching this video. Sorry to ruin the celebrating, but I don't know if I can do this anymore. I've been bullied and picked on my whole life, and it hasn't stopped becoming an active member of the board game industry. There are so many people willing to dismiss all the good someone does and try to cancel them for basically miscommunication and misunderstandings caused by the text barrier. For someone constantly struggling with major depression and severe mental problems, I really thought all of this was behind me when I got into board games, but it's been quite the opposite. For the past 4 or 5 years, anytime someone gets a chance, they are attacking me on Twitter, other groups, and now YouTube. I've lost my day job at Verizon last year, and it was the most money I will ever make, sadly. No college or degrees. Now I'm living below poverty and have lots of credit card debt. I'm not rich and will be lucky if I make enough to pay all my bills this year. I still can't afford to have insurance either to cover my medical bills. We've been able to minimize BGR for a few years, but it's not enough to live off of. I'm feeling like anytime someone breaks the group rules or makes a bad post, we have to deal with them even with clearly defined rules. All they want to do is argue about it and ignore their fault in the matter, then just rage quit or force us to ban them just so they can have someone to blame. Everyone wants to make me the bad guy and attack me for doing things that are not always in my control and often one-sided. Moderating a large group like this means we can't make everyone happy, but we have to do what's best for the group as a whole. We also do it as a team. It's not a one-person show. I know I don't always react the best to every situation because I'm impulsive and make mistakes speaking too soon. I try to learn and grow from these situations, and I'm always working to better myself, but some people never seem to let anything I do go, and nothing is good enough. Now I'm being attacked for offering paid advertising, which we have done for years and we've always been transparent about. I don't get paid to make posts, and my opinions are still my own. I also don't promote games I wouldn't purchase personally. Maybe it's time I considered leaving the industry once and for all, since I never seem to feel like I belong. Anyways, referring to the industry side, I don't have the mental capacity to deal with the constant threats and attacks for simply trying to be a valuable asset to the community. I'm sorry if I let you all down, but I've already been suicidally depressed for a while now because of a Facebook group. All I ever wanted to do be a valuable asset to the community and be able to share my love for the hobby and possibly get paid for my time and efforts. Clearly that's not encouraged, or at least not encouraged because it's me. Okay, so here's my comment on that. And there's a little bit I need to break down in this. First of all, Thomas shouldn't be running a board game group. Anytime you're out there, you're putting yourself out there on the internet, people will respond to you and it won't always be positive. And if you cannot handle that, you should not be on the internet. Now, this is not a discussion of how it should be in some fairy tale land on the internet where everybody's nice. Because the fact of the matter is it's not. I often have this conversation with my daughters who want to do the same things that they see the boys doing and stuff like that. And while that's great, yeah, but you can't go to that party as the only girl. While that is not fair, reality says that you just shouldn't do that. No, that is not fair that girls can't do that and boys totally could. However, reality is what it is. You should not go to that party. He should not be running a board game group if he cannot mentally handle that. It is a stress. I know I've been called a pale bearded potato before. I've been called anything under the sun. I'm sure there are people who have already left mean comments on this very video towards me, or have thought of them or said them in a Discord group or said them on Reddit or whatever. And you have to be able to take that, being somebody who posts publicly online and with some kind of voice, with some kind of platform, with some kind of soapbox to stand on, if that makes sense. So it sucks and it's hard, and if you can't handle it mentally, you shouldn't, because mental health is important. Speaking of which, this is not the first time I've read this post by Thomas Covert, and I don't mean this specific post. I mean, he does this every time. He'll do something, he'll overreact, there'll be a banning or some kind of issue, and he posts this mental health issue post that he does at least once a year. This is not the first time Board Game Revolution has had this posted by him, because he does this continually for years and years and years now. Like I said, I once got banned from him. The same kind of thing. I didn't break any rules or anything like that, but I got banned because I disagreed with him. I realized, just like Chris did here from Legion Games, that, hey, suddenly I'm not seeing this. I guess I'm banned. And then I eventually got reinstated when I brought it up to him. where I could now, as you can see, that join group there is there, but I have no interest in actually doing that. Because of the drama like this that Thomas creates. And that's another problem, is that it's always him involved in the drama. It's not like there's drama and he has to then go deal with it. He's actively involved in there, responding to people, sending them direct messages, questioning them, unsending messages, making comments on YouTube videos, deleting those comments, doing that kind of thing. But the most important thing I feel is that last part right here. So I'll read it just as briefly again. I'm sorry if I let you all down, but I've already been suicidally depressed for a while now, all because of a Facebook group. I'm going to have a serious conversation with you guys, and I don't know if you can relate or not, but I'm sure some of you can. I'm sure some of you can relate to this and not even admit it, at least not publicly, in a way to where somebody else could read it, somebody else being a specific person. I have been in a relationship before, and I know others who have, whether it's a brother-in-law or a sister-in-law or an aunt or uncle or a spouse or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a son or daughter or whatever it is, a friend. And they instantly play this victimhood card where they say the absolute worst thing you possibly could say. If you're in a marriage, it's going straight to saying divorce, right? You can't ever discuss an issue, because the moment there's an issue, they go straight to talking about a divorce and ending it all and all that kind of stuff, right? And so you can't get anywhere in that relationship, and you feel like a prisoner on that side, because you're constantly, anytime there's an issue where they have done something wrong, instead of apologizing, they actually just make it to where it's all about them and now it's their problem. And not only that, but it's such a drastic thing that you can't actually deal with it. Same thing with suicide. Casually mentioning suicide every single year in your Facebook group, anytime an issue comes up, first of all, is just not fair to everybody else. Because now, what is Chris supposed to do? Like, let's say you actually do it and you kill yourself, and that would be terrible. But imagine what that would do to Chris. You've essentially said it's your fault. You're blaming him for your suicide if you happen to go to it. And that's not fair to Chris to deal with. Chris is just a guy. Why is he having to deal with your suicidal problems now? That's not fair to have that to him. And this happens constantly, where at the drop of the hat, they instantly go to the very drastic part of suicide or divorce or whatever it might be. And again, it just keeps the oppressor, the person actually causing issues, constantly being the victim, but also not fixing any problems, because we can't even discuss the problems, because the moment we do, they jump off the deep end. Again, I've been in a relationship with that, and I actually left that relationship because of that. And it's terrible to be part of. If you've been in a relationship like that in some way, shape, or form, or you have somebody in your life to where you would love to discuss some issues, but you can't because it's not worth it. Because the not worth it is some huge episode where they freak out and they lose it, and then you get nowhere until eventually it's too much and you have to just break away. This is the problem that Thomas is doing in the biggest board game group on Facebook. And it's a travesty to see. It's a travesty to see that mental abuse, which is what that is, constantly mentioning that. It's just attention seeking. Now, I'm not saying that he's not actually feeling that way. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying is that regardless of that, pre-appointing the blame to other people for a possible suicide is one of the worst things you could say to someone. One of the worst things you could say publicly. If that is true, leave and get help. If it's not true and you're just saying that to be a victim, leave, we don't need you. Pick one. Either way, the board game industry needs to move past people as unstable as this running the biggest group. Now, I'm not saying Board Game Revolution needs to stop. And this has nothing to do with paid advertising. I could care less about that crap. There's so many bigger fish to fry on that I don't care. But this I do care about, because this whole tone, this whole victimhood, this whole us and them is just an issue. The whole point that we can't even discuss this because you'll get banned if you discuss it there. Board Game Geek is failing us as a tool to discuss the industry. Board Game Revolution is failing us as a tool to discuss this industry. So all we're left with is piecemeal YouTube channels and other blogs and some high-level things that just kind of talk about upcoming things. But when it comes to actually journalistically discussing issues with the industry, issues with developers, issues with industry, issues with tools, there is no place for us to go to. And people like Thomas are in the way of that. It's unfortunate. I think it'd be better for him, to be honest, personal advice, not that I doubt he's watching this, but if he is, get a job. Like, go get a job. Like, I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm not saying that in an accusing way. I have lost my job too. I have. And I had to make the decision. Do I try to do this YouTube thing and have fun with it? Or do I go back and get a job? And I went back and got a job because I have a family to feed. I have bills to pay. I have a mortgage. I have dogs. I have baby girls and my boys that I need to pay for, and my wife I want to treat nicely. So I worked my butt off, and I still do this on the side because that's what I need to do. If it ever gets to the point where it's not, that's fine, but I'm not putting them into poverty for it. So if your issue is money, which will stress you out like nobody's business, I know I've gone plenty of times without eating dinner so my kids could eat. I've been there. I've made $9,000 a year while trying to go to college, while having a family, while working at some crappy retail place. I get it. I get the food stamps. I get all of that. You do what you gotta do. So do what you gotta do. But it's nobody's fault on Board Game Revolution. It's nobody's fault on YouTube. It's nobody's fault. Don't blame others. Don't put that on them. Don't put that stress on them. This is not your place to just dump all of your stress onto others. We're not a shoulder to lean on. At some point, you need to just get up and do it. So that'd be my advice. You're struggling with this community and running it. You don't like it. It just adds stress. You're claiming it adds suicidal stuff. Leave. And in fact, don't look back. Trust me, when I get stressed over stuff like that, for instance, Reddit had a long time where they were not very kind to me. They were not nice to me. I also had this in a few other board game groups where people were, piling on me. Other developers and other influencers were talking about how I'm bad and they don't like me and blah, blah, blah. And I left. It was stressing me out and I was getting shaky. I was like, I couldn't. I was like, I don't need this in my life. And I clicked leave group and I've not gone back. And I don't plan on going back. I can live my life fine without that. So, for instance, seeing Board Game Revolution stuff and making comments on it and then getting personal messages from Thomas Covert, just like Leisure Games, just like Chris did. I don't need that in my life. I don't need Thomas's issues in my life. So I left and I've not joined the group again. I'm fine without it. Do what you gotta do and cut out the parts of your life that you don't need or that aren't helping you. And that's just a general thing for everybody. So look, I know this is not a fun video, but I feel like it needs to be said a little bit more overtly. So here I am saying it. I hope the future is bright for Board Game Revolution. I really do. This actually reminds me of, I forget the company. It's a company that makes, I can't think of the name right now, that makes tables. And the guy who started the company stepped down as CEO. As he said it, he made a blog post about it. I'll try and link to it in the description below or put it on the screen if I remember it. I'm not going to pause the video to do it. But he essentially said, I am in the way of all of my employees' success, of this company's success. He's a very small-time guy, and they were essentially needing like an HR group and stuff like that. The company was expanding, it was getting bigger, and he had to realize that he was holding it back, and he stepped down. He still works there. He's still doing whatever it is he does there now, but he's not in a position where he's holding back the very thing he created. And I think that is one of the most admirable things I've ever seen somebody do, because it's so hard. It's your baby. You created that. You made that. I understand it's hard, but there comes a point where you need to realize that you're holding back Board Game Revolution from its potential. And I do hope it continues and is able to flourish someday. But I don't think it will under Thomas's leadership. So that's it. That's my comments on a fellow YouTuber and fellow great guy that covers a lot of cool stuff, and I've been watching him for a while. I've spoken to him briefly a few times, and it's sad to see him have to deal with this. It's sad to see this laid onto him, and also for everybody involved in BGR, I hope you guys can continue to do well and find a path forward that really actually moves the needle and sets the tone better than this. That's it, guys. That's all I had. If you have any other comments or suggestions or things I need to cover, let me know in the not the description, you can't comment there, in the comments below. I definitely read them. I'll be engaging with you guys. You guys always know that. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you guys again very soon. Bye, guys.